Welcome everyone, I'm Vita Prestior and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 18. It is a new season, which means another season of 5 placement matches followed by point matches, and the entire season me being unable to remember half the names of the heroes in this game. So, for the most part, I'm not really in any rush to get to Gold 3 for this season. Also, for 2 reasons. One is I got the skin for this season is Roga, and I don't use Roga at all, and it's not a female character, so I don't really care. Also, I'm going to be probably busy the upcoming weeks anyway, because of trips and projects and all sorts of things. That being said, I'm hoping to take it easy and hopefully fight some fancier boxes that are not the usual meta. As for my box, it hasn't changed. Ice Melda is still 5 stars at this point. She should be 6 stars in about 2 weeks. Besides that, everything's about the same. It's 4 tank, 4 healer setup, and mostly focus is on Sylvaria and Isolde. Alright, as for our opponent, I definitely got my request here. So this is actually my second placement match, which I guess I should mention the placement matches for those who don't know. It's 5 matches, and based off your previous season's rankings and how many wins you get will decide what rank you'll start in for the new season. So my goal really is just for this week just to get a win, and then try to make sure I stay at least silver. Anything below silver, if you're in bronze or whatever, you actually get you don't even get crystals, and you don't even get SSR enchants for your weekly rewards. So it's generally a good idea if you can make it get to silver 3 at least. Anyway, I did have one loss prior to this match. It was mostly a meta box. Wasn't a terrible match, but I pretty much just got outgunned. Unfortunately, Freya can get overwhelmed pretty hard, and also Sword Soul type abilities can really wreck her ability to tank, unfortunately. Anyway, as for our opponent, it is a time box, almost. There are 3 characters. I think 3 characters? Yeah, I believe it's 3 characters that are not time. Florentia, Liana, and I believe this is Sonia? Can't remember her name. But in any case, the rest of this is time faction. There are 4 characters that have time faction that have faction buff, and this box has 2 of them. That is Joshua and the Awakened one. But yeah, we haven't seen most of these characters in quite some time, and some of them were kind of the bane of my existence at one point, like Himiko here. In any case, my opponent bans Rosenseal first, and I go ahead and immediately ban the Awakened one. I usually don't care about the Awakened one, but she is kind of their best faction buffer, and so I wanted to go ahead and put that pressure on my opponent. Because if they do care about a faction buffer, that means they're going to pick Joshua. And Joshua used to be dangerous, but honestly he's probably not that bad anymore. So I grab Liana. I think the biggest issue with Joshua now is I believe he doesn't have very much mobility. And unfortunately mobility is king in this meta nowadays. That being said, I do go ahead and grab a healer right off the bat, because a lot of the time faction characters have lots and lots of AoE and lots of debuffs. Joshua, we got, was it Lena here? Some of these characters can also double act. Was it Leonhardt, I think his name? This guy, I think it was, Kyo? I don't even remember his name. We'll know soon enough. But my opponent actually immediately starts banning tanks. Bans Freya and Christiane, grabs Joshua as predicted. So at this point I was like, alright, let's get rid of Lena, because Lena tends to be a problem. I did lose Christiane here, so magic damage can be pretty dangerous. And as far as assassins are concerned, really the only one is Kaguya here. Himiko does technically have some assassination abilities, but that's not what you really use her for. You usually use her for AoE. So I'll go ahead and grab Lightbringer. Lightbringer, mainly because she can actually buff some of my holy characters, but also with her updates to her exclusive in her inscription I think she has. If she gets the full stack, she can passively heal as well. So having some additional healing is pretty useful. Alright, so I lose Isolde, I lose Eshian, and they grab Leonhardt. I believe it's Leonhardt. I can't remember the exact name. Himiko and another KA name. It was like Kagura or something like that. I don't remember which one. I always get them mixed up. But in any case, I went ahead and banned Himiko because she's really annoying. She tends to steal a lot of buffs. And then the other character is actually a pretty decent tank buster. And with high mobility as well. Also, Himiko is just really dangerous in my box because I tend to rely more on single target, and she can just flat out negate a single target strike with a cooldown. So I grab Sylvaria. My opponent gets rid of Lycoris, gets rid of the Awakened one, and this is like Rio, I think. I don't remember his name. He's one of those guys. Yeah. I'm even less familiar with Time Faction characters. At this point, I go ahead and get rid of their healers. Yeah, at this point, they had 2 tanks, 2 healers. I did not want them to have any act agains, so I was completely fine with this. And honestly, the rest of this is not too bad. So yeah, got rid of them. I went ahead and grabbed Almeda. Obviously, I had some DPS options, but since I had 3 characters that can actually be strikers in some form or fashion, I was kind of okay with just grabbing a second healer, just to ensure I don't get overwhelmed with all the AoE that's available here. They go ahead and get rid of Ice Melda. They get rid of Grinshield. Losing out of the 3 options, those 2 were actually the ones I would want more than Namiya, but I'm completely fine with having Namiya. And then they go ahead and grab this guy. I get rid of the guy from Yu Yu Hakusho, but I don't remember his name off the top of my head, and I also don't remember this other character's name, so give me one moment. Okay, so Kagura was the spear lady, Elaine was the sword infantry, Kurama is, of course, Kurama. I was correct, this guy is Rio over here, Leonhardt is Leonhardt, and then the person I call Kyo is actually just Rien. Also, Sonya is actually a Time Faction character, and I just could not remember that. So the only 2 characters that are not Time Faction in this box were the healers. Okay, so yeah, got Rien here, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab Namiya over here. I don't really have a buff for her, unfortunately. And then we got Albedo. Alright. I'll probably take the time to go over some of these characters, because most of you guys probably forgot they existed. I certainly did. Alright, so first we got Sylvaria here. Nothing really changed. I have the same kit as always. 3C, Sneak, Disarm with Deck Gunners. We got Liana here. Act Again, Heal, 3C with Windbloom Chanters. Lightbringer, Discipline, 3C, and Light Glow with... I went with Holy Guard Mages. Mainly because... this entire box is physical. She does have the armor. She does have Tiamat armor, or whatever it's called, that gives magic damage reduction if you have mixed forces. But since none of this is magic, I was completely okay with just bringing in some Holy Guard mages for my tanking. Namiya here, I went Aim, Ashian's Fury, and I usually bring her little aquatic snipe attack, but instead I actually brought Thaws and Arrows for additional mobility, and also because my opponent doesn't have healers. So I can just hit and run all I want. Does have Fairy Spirit Prophets, and then Almeda here, pretty much her 3C, and then her SP skills essentially, and then we got Windbloom Chanters. As for our opponent, I got Rien here. Rien used to be just a devastating menace in the past. Generally, the idea, of course, was he's one of those characters that gets super strong when an ally dies, and he can also get like... he can go into Spirit Unification mode and all sorts of good stuff, and then he essentially he gets like excessive range and span with his AoEs that do just tons of debuffs, including things like heal reversal or Curse of Wounding. Nowadays, he's not that big of a threat. He has to have a turn to set up, and even with his setup turn, he generally doesn't have the mobility to keep up anymore. So he's not too bad anymore. Leonhardt is kind of in the same boat. He does have a turn to set up, usually with the instant transfer. He does have his 3C does allow him to summon like a duplicate of himself, so he can definitely do some like chain AoE nonsense that can be pretty rough. I believe he was one of the first characters that had the ability to negate Act Again effects. The big thing that made him really dangerous is if he ever hits multiple targets, not only does he get like healed and stuff like that, but then he gets to act again from that, so essentially he can do double AoE. So what he would usually do is like teleport somewhere where he can, you know, survive, usually like into a forest tile or something along those lines, because his teleport gives him damage reduction, and then from there he would just run in and just wreck your house. Albedo, not much to say about her. Looks like she's got 3C walls of her. She actually has her other tanking ability. This is mainly just, I don't know why she has the other tanking ability. There's no reason to. Tenacity makes sense at least. Nothing too much to say about Albedo. She's actually a rather good tank, but she's also kind of very heavily RNG dependent. She has a lot of things that will trigger on a % chance. And if she does trigger things like, you know, block and 3C, and on top of her talent, she can pretty much negate almost all damage dealt to her, but it's only a % chance that will happen. The biggest thing that hurts her is the fact she's infantry. Back then, there were a lot of cavalry in the meta. Rio Sonata, I've run into him a couple of times. He's essentially just a tank buster. He has an aura that actually negates self-resing. So it's not even a debuff, it's actually an aura, so it's actually a lot harder to get to avoid. But again, same issue, he doesn't have much mobility. And then Joshua here, he of course got faction buff and all of his fancy AoEs here with Firebrand Sniper. Generally, he would have, anytime he does critical hits, he does fixed damage, then he has Firebrand Snipers on top of that. So he can do a lot of fixed damage on top of his AoEs and do quite a bit of damage. He also has a very long range line AoE, but he didn't bring it. I didn't really talk about Rian's skills. They're all just AoEs that do a bunch of stacks of debuffs type things. And if he's in this Spirit Unification form type thing, it does even more. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah, Leonhardt just brought his big AoE, and then he of course brought his summon, and that's about it. Okay, so with all that said and done, let's go murder. So I decided to go ahead and just open immediately. I know my opponent's going to open with a faction buff, so I don't have a faction buff or attack buff for Namiya. I can get a damage buff at the very least. But since my opponents are super lacking in mobility, and the fact that I can just I can debuff their mobility by making them think they're in water, I can actually pretty safely go after my opponent here. I did play it kind of safe though. I'm pretty sure I could have hit all 5 of them, but I didn't want to go that committed. So I instead just hit the 4 of them. And as you can see, it does quite a bit of damage. And then my opponent decided to run up and put up faction buff, which is going to hurt him. Not only did it hurt him, it also put this water terrain debuff on him. So yeah, as you can see, they literally can't move now. The other effect is they take increased fixed damage from that AoE now. So yeah, at this point they just have to get out of the water and hope I don't murder everybody. But like I said, the idea here is just to hit them with AoEs. I don't need to really worry about too much else. They don't have any healers. But just in case, I'm going to go ahead and get my reflection stacks up and running. I don't really have a way of reaching Namiya for protection, but my opponent can't reach Namiya anyway, so it's not really the end of the world. I think at best, Lionheart can, or Leonhardt can actually summon and then hit with the summon maybe, but that's about as far as that. But that's as far as that's going to go. I did get set up for sniping. As always, I have 9 range. Right now, I can hit Joshua. That's about it. Alright, so yeah, Spirit Unification's up. It did give him a little extra mobility. And I believe it also, yeah, it changed all of his AoEs. Now they have longer range and span. But again, doesn't really matter too much because my opponent can't even reach. Yeah, and they're also stuck in the water. Alright. Yeah, he actually moved back to get out of the water. I believe Rio can like eventually transform or something like that, but I don't know how exactly that triggers, and I'm not really that concerned about it. Since I don't really need to do the act again, I went ahead and just did 3C on Silvaria just so she can have her attack buff. You can see that Leonhardt did get set up down here. That does give him additional mobility, but again, he still has that water mobility debuff, and he's also getting hit with debuffs from Almeta's passive. So yeah, I don't really have much to worry about. I go ahead and just take this opportunity to go ahead and do 1,000 arrows and then run away again. This also gets rid of some of their buffs on top of that. And then I put some more terrain around where we're at. So yeah, I have about, like, I don't know, a third of the map covered in water right now. Alright, can't be a season without Savarius sniping somebody. Alright, well, I needed to do about 7,000. I did 45,000, so we're good to go. So you can see some triggers happening back here. So I believe what happened here is... I think got some stacks. I don't remember exactly how it works. After using this skill... Yeah, so what happens is whenever a friendly unit dies, he immediately enters Ogre status, which gives him a bunch of fancy stats and like that. Granted, he already used Spirit Unification, so it pretty much functions the same. At some point, if that triggers 3 times, I believe it becomes permanent. So technically, he's triggered it twice so far. Rio here had the Mimir's Hammer thing. Is it Mimir's Hammer? I don't remember which one, but there's the one that increases hero damage and also does self-healing and dispels whenever an ally dies. But yeah, I just kind of taking my time, just pelting them from a distance. God. Just the fixed damage alone has nearly killed their tank. So I mainly just did this to get cycling cooldowns for Namiya. Because I'm gonna have aim out of cooldown at this point, and my goal is to get something at least down to 1 cooldown, which I successfully did here. But I went ahead and just went straight for Leonhardt because I know his mobility debuff had went away, so I just ran up to kill him. And at this point, my opponent gives up. So yeah, pretty straightforward match. It was neat seeing all those characters, but you can definitely see why they kind of fell out of the meta. Like, if you can't cover the entire map and AoE everybody, then you're kind of just dead in the box in most cases. But that is our we got our 1 win for the week, so that's good, a good sign. And I'm gonna go ahead and call it here. I'm the Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 18, and I'll see you guys later.